Welcome to A Bit of Insight, where we explore how to live well, travel far, and inspire others along the way. I'm your host, Lisa Mosbey, and if you're ready to design a life you don't need a vacation from, you're in the right place. So, have you ever met a moose out in public? I don't think so. I have a gentleman here today who's going to tell us stories about polar bears and wildlife and coming eye to eye with things that most of us have no idea is even possible. And it's not been on our radar and it's not been part of our life in the past. But today, we're going to walk you through some of those experiences. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Michael Gayle. He is a former Marine. He is an outdoor guide. His background is in everything physical fitness. And today we're talking about travel and how travel helps us to be healthier human beings. Welcome, Michael. Thank you so much for joining me on my podcast today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? I gave the highlights, but share a little bit about your background so people really know how ingrained health, wellness, and the outdoors are in your life and yourselves and who you are.
Absolutely. The activity started as a kid. I've just always loved activity from bike riding to skiing and then it came time to graduate high school. I signed up for the United States Marine Corps and made it through training, thankfully, and went through the vigorous activities with the training. Stayed here in the U.S. Did travel to Norway, so I got exposed to the beauties of Arctic Norway. And so that physical part and that the passion for movement led me to study kinesiology at the University of Minnesota. Led me to go through a year and a half long Pilates, comprehensive Pilates certification, which is like a subset of fitness, similar to yoga, and also to gain personal training, but outdoor certifications, such as mountaineering certifications and high-level tracking and survival courses with an Apache based program, Native American program and sailing training and others, which so it's really that the confluence or the joining of fitness with the outdoors, my two passions, right?
Do you think you need to be fit to travel and do some of these outdoor things?
I think a person can travel certainly with all levels of fitness, but the answer, do you need to be fit? You can get by. You may not enjoy it as much as you could if you prepared even a little bit in a few hours a week on your fitness. So the answer is, can you do it without? It depends on how, if you want to stay on the beaten track or you're like, okay, well, I like to do things off of the beaten track and do some things that may involve me climbing up some steps or going up and over, some things that maybe I wasn't expecting to do, but now the opportunity's here. And I'd like to be able to do those things if the opportunity presents itself. So the answer is yes, but things really open up when a person from experience and from training others to get ready for adventures, when they prepare themselves for adventure. I mean, really the sky is the limit, what you can do.
It was kind of a trick question because when I think of
Yeah,
it,
for
I think
sure.
of somebody who's not fit. It's you're a
Yeah.
passive tourist. Like we can go on a boat ride, we can hop on a
Yeah.
bus, we can see a lot of the sights versus an active traveler where you're going to
Right.
get in a kayak or you're going to go hike that hill or you're going to get to that mountaintop to see what there is to see. And there's a different piece, there's a different component to it when you're physically able to take in and really enjoy being fully present wherever it is that you're at. If you're an outdoor excursion person, if you want to be out and about. The other thing that comes to mind is how do you prepare? The preparation, the getting fit part of it is also part of the journey, the travel. When we have something to look forward to, I know for me it makes it a whole lot easier. I was walking around this morning with a 28-pound backpack on my
Mhm.
shoulders, out in the sun because I know in in Madrid next month, it's going to be hot and I'm traveling with a backpack. So I need to be prepared. My legs need to be
That's
prepared,
right.
my shoes, my feet, all of those things. I want you to speak to that. Like, talk about how the preparation can be part of the journey, part of the joy of the journey when people are planning excursions and jumping into travel for wellness.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the preparation piece, it depends on how far you want to like to take it, but some sort of climbing should be part of your preparation. So that climbing could be steps, it could be going up and down a hilly terrain. Um, so climbing enables your cardiovascular system a nice boost, enables a nice base of strength in your lower body and your core musculature, all the things you need for travel. Chances are there's going to be some steps someplace. You're going to step off of a dinghy, an inflatable raft onto the beach, or off of the beach to the dinghy to the sailboat, or from the cruise ship, or there's going to be some sort of stepping off or standing up. And to train the muscles to build up over time, I think is the most important thing. It also helps you with your footing, your balance, the balance between left and right, front and back, side to side, the diagonals of the body. Those are all involved as well because when you're hiking and potentially, for instance, and you're on an unstable surface or surfaces, and say a rock, you step on a rock and it rolls, you're not expecting it to roll, but you've trained that. So balance and with your eyes open and with your eyes closed, known as proprioception, whole different thing when you're trying to move around with your eyes closed. And there's some simple things that you can do to prepare. That's a big key to have your body, to train it to know where it's at in space even when the eyes are closed, to be comfortable with that. And that's scary for most people. That they're out, say, hiking, we'll use the term hiking or mountain climbing, and then all of a sudden it's dim light. I mean, that sun's going down. You're like, oh, okay, well, this is a lot easier with this scree or loose rock. When there was light, and now there's not a whole bunch of light, and I have my headlamp, but it's not the same, and I can only see this area. And now the rocks are turning over all over the place. And, I've trained for that, though. I've trained for those sorts of things. And then having some sort of upper body strength. If for appropriate, for those that can raise their hands up over their head and
Mhm.
hold on to a bar, and even if their feet are on the ground to start, so some of the weights on the ground, and then some of the weights holding, develop grip strength is huge. To have the confidence if someone reaches out their hand and says, "Come with me, let's go." And say, there's again that trail situation. You're on a trail and you got that loose rock and it's really thin and you have your partner's next to you and you slip a little bit, but then your partner says, "Here, grab my hand." And you grab their hand and he or she pulls you up and you're good to go. So you've trained that grip strength. It's key. It's really important for confidence. It's really important to be able to get yourself up off the ground. It's important for climbing, for just having a sense of I can do this and doing it without thinking about it. So the balance piece, the proprioception, lower body, and then of course the upper body strength and endurance that can come from things like modified push-ups on the knees, for instance. That's a good, or dips from a chair. You can put your hands on the side of a chair and just sit your backside up near the chair and bend your elbows a little bit and straighten them. So building up the endurance and the main muscles of the upper body, so the chest and the back, the mid back, and the lats, the large muscles of your back. Of course, the shoulders are a product of doing that as well, are key as well as I mentioned that the lower body. So having all those things, uh, getting ready to go for a trip, and then you've put the train into it, and a situation comes up, and you're like, I got this. All your training, there's a flashback. It comes back to you in that moment. And that gives you the confidence to be able to, rather than react and have that pause, your body just this takes on the training that you put, and that's why you train,
Yeah.
right? And then
Let's
now
talk
you
about
can
the
enjoy
mindset
it
too,
next
because
level, right?
you're talking a lot about the
Yeah,
physical piece of it, but I think that
yeah,
there's a mental component to getting over the fear. If you know you can do something, if you know you can carry your backpack and
for
hike
sure.
for 1 or 2 miles outside, you're going to be able to get that backpack up in the top of that airplane. You're going to be able to get it on that train shelf when you're moving across country, or just carrying it around until you can get from one location to the other location. So I know for me, there's a mental part of it when I'm physically training for backpacking types of travel, but not everybody's doing that. But there still is a mental component to traveling. If you've never traveled overseas, how do you get in the right state of mind for that? There might be some fear or apprehension or standing in long lines or sitting in a plane for a long flight. How do as a Marine, there's a lot of mental health that went into your everyday life. Speak to that for me. How do you work with people as a life coach, former Marine, getting them into a mindset that life is here for the taking? It's here for the joy, the adventure. It's not always a struggle and pain and stress.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a whole nother aspect of the preparation. And one can certainly do that in the physical world. So you're addressing the mental and the physical at the same time. But the mental aspect of it, I think the big key, it's not the only one, but it's a big one, is breathing. And I'll
Okay.
give you an example. And it was stepping into Waverly Lake here in Minnesota. It was winter. It wasn't the coldest day. It was about 30 degrees. The lake, we had to break through ice to access an area by the beach. It's three of us, another Marine, and a Finnish man, United States citizen, but he's Finnish, so he loves the sauna. Um, but we had this area set up. We got in. We worked on some breathing methods beforehand, months ahead. And then we sat in, got the recorder ready, and got all the way up to our necks of cold, ice cold water.
Wow.
And the goal was to 2 minutes. We get to 2 minutes, then great. We got it. We can go into the sauna afterwards, a steam sauna that was just about 20 feet away. Two of us ended up lasting for over 10 minutes, again, up to our neck. And the key here again is that how do you prepare for all these situations, all this stuff going on with travel and these new situations? I think the part of it all, and it's the same thing with tracking, it's the same thing with Pilates, it's the same thing with training, it's the same thing with martial arts, it's the same thing with my training in the Marines. It's being able to take a situation that's stressful and take a few breaths and be thankful of where you're at in the experience. Like, I didn't fight. I'll just talk from my experience.
Yeah.
I didn't fight the water. I joined forces with that cold. Although that first minute was really tough and I trained to breathe beforehand, it took the air out. It felt like I was being squeezed in, and I just knew what was happening. And I knew that it was very, very, very important to take deep breaths. The deeper breath is possible because the hyperventilation sets into play. And if you don't control your breathing, there's no way you'll even get 2 minutes, let alone more than that. And of course, we got up over 10 minutes. So I think in an extreme situation like that, as an example, breathing is so very important. It sets the mind. Martial artists train it all the time.
Yeah.
Ninjas train it, Japanese ninjas and the samurai warriors, the ancient samurai, they were able to get their breathing down very, very low, where it was hard to detect they were even alive. So if a person can do that, we can control our breathing, we control our breath, that has a direct link from experience to mindset. What about yourself?
I can't even last 2 minutes in a cold shower. I can't imagine getting
Okay.
into a lake, and I'm a Minnesota girl.
Okay.
So yeah, I would agree with that. Breathing, I didn't think of it, but thank you. I completely agree that when that panic sets in and you're strapped in. I think of a time when I was in an airplane. I was on my way back from Africa, and I had hives from the back of my neck to the heels on my feet. Like my entire body was
Oh,
covered,
wow.
and I knew they weren't going to let me on the plane if they seen it. So I went to the pharmacist and I bought Desitin and I coated myself in the baby butt balm, my entire body, so I could stop itching. And then the pharmacist in Africa will actually give you a prescription. So I got the strongest itching prescription that I could get, took that, and about 7 hours into the flight, I finally stopped itching. But those first 7 hours, when you said hyperventilate, that's the picture that comes to me. It was like, because like I don't want to itch because people will know something's wrong. And then I was sitting on a window seat, which I hate, and I was trapped in there. And it was really, I had to test myself. Like, what happens on this plane? What if this inflammation starts to go beyond what I'm capable of managing here in the plane? I'm going to have a 25, 30-hour flight, and this is the condition that my body's in. But it was mind over matter. I knew I could do it. I knew that on the other side of this, I just needed to get through the flight. And if there was something severely wrong, if it wasn't just an allergic reaction to water or environment, that there was a doctor that I could see when I got off the plane in the United States. And so I was able to calm myself down and get to that point. So I know that's not the same as, things that
Yeah.
Marines go through and other folks do, but we get these challenges. We are faced with these kinds of challenges when we're traveling. People have had surgeries when they're in international country, in an international location. Um, how do you prepare and plan for that? I know that you do trips, so I want to talk about that. I curate trips for women who want to go together in small groups. You curate trips. Tell us the frame, the mindset around your trips and why you do those kinds of excursions.
The mindset around it is appreciation. That's number one. So the
Okay.
goal of Gayle Outdoor Adventures is to have our clients and our colleagues fall in love with both fitness and the outdoors, or to catch that fitness and outdoor bugs
Yeah.
for life. So it becomes something of an appreciation that you stop and you notice in certain seasons, certainly not the winter, but in the springtime, for instance, the flowers and the different colors of the flowers, or the new pine needles, the different types of trees, the wildlife, and the more you stop and you focus in on the abundance of the outdoors and the travel, the more exciting it gets. So it really is based on the appreciation part. And the way we start, and I start with clients, is to get them as they're ready. They may start indoors training in a facility in a gym, but when they're ready, to get them training outdoors. And eventually there's going to be some sort of storm, and to build them up so they're comfortable training in a storm. You say, well, what storm are you talking about? It could be a rainstorm. It could be right here, something closer to home. Maybe it starts, they live in Maple Grove. We train at a place in Maple Grove, Minnesota, close to home. And then they get comfortable with that. And then it could be northern Minnesota, then northern Minnesota on the Superior Hiking Trail. And then it goes from there potentially to the Boundary Water. So now you're on a vessel, and you're trained beforehand of how to maneuver yourself and how to paddle and how to position yourself if a storm comes in. And you need to figure out how to handle these stressors in the moment, because the storms, for example, in the Boundary Waters, Canoe Area Wilderness in Minnesota and Quetico in Canada, they come on quick, super quick. So we talk through all this, we script this ahead of time. What are you going to do if this happens? What are you going to do if this happens? What if you're going to do if I'm not around? How do you navigate yourself? Do you have an extra map? What are these red dots on the map? What do they mean? Oh, they're portages. Okay, are there more than one portage for a lake? How do you check it out? How do you cross-reference that you're at the right portage? What happens if you start to get, you're not feeling well, and you're feeling dizzy, and you're on there and your eyesight starts to blur. I had that experience with some DEET and I put it on my near my mouth and my nose, and I breathe it in, and I start to see things. It wasn't a
Wow.
good situation. So all those things are drilled ahead of time, so that a person's ready, and then they slowly build up these experiences, and they have these win experiences again closer to home. The Boundary Waters is a good example, and then depending on what the group or the individual would like, I'll team up with mountaineers, sailors. I have connections worldwide. Norway, I have lots of connections in Antarctica and France and Italy. I have family in Italy. Uh, and we make connections here in the US and Canada as well, to Newfoundland as an example, British Columbia. And we make these experiences as a team happen. So I put all the logistics together with the help of other people in country that have already built relationships with of trust. And it's based on what that person, choose your own adventure, what that person or people want to do, and we make it happen. And it's life changing. But the stresses, the experiences of travel, that's part of the actual physical training, which makes what MG Outdoor Adventures, what we do, just a little bit different, right? Because we're focused the physical training, the idea is to get them outdoors and to train them outdoors. And as an outdoor guide and as a survivalist and a tracker, and as a prior service United States Marine and martial artist, etc., I'm qualified to train people in on some of those skills of listening in to the environment, listening in to the bird song, listening in to the bees. There's ways in which, and it sounds crazy, in which you can quiet that. So if birds notice, they feel there's danger, you can test this out there in the woods, and you have like a staff up overhead, just a stick, and you have an intention of trying to harm something, then notice what happens as you walk through the woods. Does it get louder or does it get quieter? So you can answer this question now, or you can, experience it, and the people out there certainly can experience on their own. But that's one of the exercises early on in my training that they taught to lead up to a scout level and beyond, a Native American Apache scout. And that's where all the training was geared toward, to level up to that. But I
Uh,
think that awareness, when you come to face with wildlife, for example, you don't know when things are going to happen. It could be someone tries to steal your purse. You're going down a busy city street and you're on the curbside, and someone comes back by on a motorbike and they go to grab your purse, but you know not to walk on the outside. So say I walk on the outside, somebody else does without a purse.
yeah.
And so now you're protected. So you've talked through all this stuff. But having some of these experiences to pad your before you go out, say in a different country or a different state, and that you have these experiences that are a jumping point, a ramp up to that, I think it takes a lot of the fear out of the way because you've already dealt with it. You've already practiced the breathing. You've already practiced the awareness. You've already practiced the appreciation. You're allowing yourself to just let in more and more of this good stuff. So now your experience goes from, hey, this was good, to this is like off of the wall, awesome. And the history and everything else and the culture that we read up beforehand in study and preparation for this trip, it makes it even better because now I understand the reason why this happens, and culturally why they do this, and why they sit on the ground when they eat, and why they keep the same broth over and over day after day after day. I mean, for example, I mean the way the Chinese, it's different cultures, different things, but you get to appreciate it more and more. Or the Sami in northern Italy, or um, a wildlife experience where you come face to face, for some, to a polar bear or a grizzly bear in the Tetons. It's that awareness where I'm jumping around here, but you're training yourself to be aware of your surroundings. So you hear a crack pop, and you say, okay, was that a small animal? Was that a large animal? Okay, well, I'm listening to your senses. Most people, when they walk into a coffee shop, if there's someone who has really good vibes, people notice. If there's someone who walks into a coffee shop angry and everything's bustling, they're having great conversations, all of a sudden it gets quiet. So I gave you a cue with the walking to the woods exercise, right? It gets quiet. So noticing some of those things. So when you notice a bear, is that a dangerous thing? Do you feel on alert? Maybe you don't see the bear, but you sense something. You learn to sense that there's a bigger animal. So what do? You prepare yourself. You take out some bear spray. You have bear spray there, right? If it's a potential grizzly bear, and then you proceed carefully. You scan using splatter vision. So your eyes are going out to the side and you're able to scan much more. So that's part of the training that I'm teaching people to clients to be able to have a deeper relationship with the outdoors. Now, not everyone is interested in that. I get it. They just want to go out and they want to be able to have some of these experiences and then go back home. But even for those that just want to go out and have an experience, go on a cruise ship and come back, preparing for adventure it's, as you know, it's life-changing, right?
It really is. I have to say thank you, Michael, for the walk down memory lane, because I have been to the Boundary Waters and I did get to meet a moose, a mama moose whose baby was taken right from the river by a black bear and it ran up into the woods. And I am crying. And that's the first day. And I thought, how am I ever going to get through these next couple of weeks living in the Boundary Waters? But I did. And I think of these different experiences as you were sharing those stories, finding that sit spot. I did survival training when I was in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we went
Nice.
out, it was part of the Nevada Naturalist program, and we'd have a sit spot. We'd have to go out and commit to going to that same spot every single day and just listening, being quiet, maybe bringing a notebook and a pen and listening. What do you see? What do you observe? What's happening around you? And it trains you, even being in nature, it trains you for being on the subway. What are those folks doing over there? You see them out of that peripheral vision. What is happening, when you're walking down that street in New York City or Chicago or wherever you are? So I had quite a vision going on as you were sharing these different stories on how you teach and train people and help them to prepare for these kinds of adventures. I've done it myself, but not to that degree. And I appreciate your level of intensity and the passion that you have for how you serve this community. If folks want to get in touch with you, or if they want to pursue more of this or learn more, how do they find you?
The best way is just to reach out to me via the website, and that's www.m as in Michael Gayle, Gayle, outdoor, outdoor, adventures, plural, adventures.com. So that's the best way, www.mgaleoutdooradventures.com. Or you can just look me up, Michael Gayle in Medina, Medina, Minnesota. You'll definitely find me, and love to have a conversation. Even if someone's curious and they say, well, this is interesting stuff. I've wanted to do X, Y, and Z. I've always wanted to do this trip, but I was like, I didn't know what the first step was. I'm super open to meeting with people that don't really know how to figure everything out yet, but they want to take that first step. And that first step very well could be meeting with me, having a conversation, and I could point them to the right person, even if it's not myself or MG Outdoor Adventures. It could be someone else here in the community in Minnesota or elsewhere throughout the country or around the world.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time today. Folks, if you want to travel with Michael, or if you're part of my women's tribe and you're looking for your next adventure, we have a few coming up. Feel free to reach out. I hope that you had a takeaway. I hope you had a flashback like I did of a time in your life when you felt empowered, when you were traveling and you felt well, you had the mindset to go for it. If there's an adventure that you're looking forward to preparing for, take some of this advice. Maybe walk with your backpack on, maybe do a little bit of breathing and get prepared. There's nothing that can throw you off your game. You got this. Come on back next time and we'll talk more about how to stay well while traveling. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for joining me on A Bit of Insight. If something today stirred your curiosity or lit a spark, don't let it fade. Through Insight Getaways, I curate intentional travel experiences around the world, and I also help women book unforgettable journeys they design. Whether you want to explore solo, travel with friends, or join one of my escorted group adventures, there's a place for you. You'll find details, resources, and upcoming experiences at insightgetaways.com. Be sure to share this episode with someone who needs a little courage and clarity. Let's spread the message and reach more women ready for their next chapter. Until next time, live well, travel far, and inspire others.